The 2019 NBA Summer League gave us the opportunity to see this year's rookies for the first time on the NBA hardwood, and other young players trying to prove themselves worthy of a roster spot headed into next season. In this video, we're going to be looking at the most impressive and disappointing players from this year's Summer League, so if you guys like my content, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's try to get 7,000 likes on today's video, and let's hop right into it. Okay guys, with the Summer League going into the playoffs, it's time to look at what we got to see, and we're going to start it off with some of those impressive players this year. We're going to begin with one that really jumps off the paper to me, and that's going to be Nikhil Walker. I got to go to the NBA Summer League this year, and Alexander Walker really amazed me with his performance. He didn't get to play till the third game for the Pelicans, as he was involved in that draft night trade that sent the 4th overall pick DeAndre Hunter to the Atlanta Hawks. But once hitting the court in his first game, he went out there and scored 23 points, shooting 9 for 16 from the field, including 3 for 6 from 3, to go along with 8 assists and 3 steals. For it to be Nikhil's first game, it was very impressive. He was effective from every aspect of the game. He looked like a knockdown shooter from 3. He was aggressive going at the rim and on defense, but what was most impressive was his playmaking. Despite being listed as a shooting guard, he was primarily playing the point guard spot where he was running the offense, dishing out beautiful passes. Nikhil continued to impress in his second game, going out there and scoring 26 points, shooting 10 for 20 from the field and 3 for 7 from 3, and again, showed his versatile skill set, dishing out 6 assists. Obviously, this is just the Summer League, and this success won't necessarily translate to the regular season, but regardless, it was impressive, and I can't help but wish there was a spot for him in the starting lineup, but I'm excited for the potential of him running that second unit in New Orleans. Next, we're going to talk about another New Orleans rookie, and it's not their number 1 pick Zion Williamson, but their 8th overall selection Jaxson Hayes. For someone that was deemed a very raw prospect, Hayes' performance was very surprising. In his first game, he went out there and had one of the top scoring performances in the whole Summer League, getting 28 points, shooting 10 for 15 from the field to go along with 3 blocks. Now, his scoring came in the exact way you expected, catching lobs and throwing down dunks, including one crazy poster that was easily the most insane dunk I've ever seen in person. Now, his second game wasn't as crazy, getting 13 points and 7 rebounds, but still surprised everyone by attempting and making a 3-pointer. I don't expect that to be a big part of his game, but based on what we know he can do, if that is a part of his game, we really need to watch out for Jaxson Hayes going into the future. Based on David Griffin's comments on the jump recently, it doesn't sound like he's going to be in the starting lineup and will be playing behind Derek Favors, but I still expect a pretty solid rookie season, and down the line could be the perfect pairing alongside Zion Williamson. Overall, it really looks like the Pelicans made some great moves on the night of the 2019 NBA draft, having 2 of the most impressive players from the Summer League, and that's not even including their number 1 overall pick, Zion Williamson. Next, we have Carson Edwards. Edwards was taken with the 33rd pick in the second round by the Boston Celtics. He was one of the best scorers in the country at Purdue, but a 6'1" frame caused him to slide to the second round. Edwards showed in the Summer League that he is the real deal and could have a very solid role for the Boston Celtics coming off the bench next year. Over his 3 games, he managed to get 19 points per game, shooting 54% from the field. The most exciting thing about Edwards is his ability beyond the arc. Edwards shot 5 for 12 from 3 in his first game and 5 for 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers, and it really looked like if they just kept giving him the ball, he could have gone for 50. Edwards was also pretty solid on defense and reportedly was tearing it up on that end during practice. Edwards was one of the best scorers coming out of this draft and could be a spark off the bench for the Boston Celtics going into the future. Next, we have a rookie from the Miami Heat and 13th overall pick Tyler Herro. Herro's value going into this draft came from his shooting both off the catch or dribble. So far in the Summer League, he hasn't been fazed by the jumping competition and is averaging over 21 points per game, including some pretty impressive performances from beyond the arc. Herro could be a solid player for the Heat going into the future, or with the help of his recent performance, is now a pretty valuable trade asset to help them land a star, the recent rumored one being Russell Westbrook. Reportedly, they would rather not include him in the deal, but in my opinion, that's most likely just a bluff to help them with negotiations. Next, we got Ignas Brazdeikis of the New York Knicks. Iggy was taken in the second round out of Michigan, where as a freshman, he averaged 15 points, shooting 46% from the field and 40% from 3. In the Summer League so far, Iggy has not shied away from the moment and has been playing with confidence like he's a 10-year vet. So far, he's averaged around 15 points per game, shooting 50% from the field. He was one of the first players to drop a 30-point game this year, going out and getting 11 for 19 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3 against the Phoenix Suns. The New York Knicks might have found another steal in the second round 2 years in a row, and so far, he's been the most impressive rookie in New York. Next, we got Fiondu Kabengele, who was a 27th overall pick in 2019 to the Los Angeles Lakers. In the summer league so far, he's been very impressive, which is pretty scary considering the Clippers situation. So far, he's averaged 17.7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, shooting 46% from the field. And the most exciting part of his game, considering how good of a rebounder and shot blocker he is that he's shooting 50% from 3. What's interesting about Kabengele is while the Clippers have one of the best teams headed in next year that includes the likes of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they still lack a shot blocking presence. I could see Kabengele actually having a decent role, maybe even in the starting lineup, as he fits this team's defensive mentality, and they wouldn't be sacrificing anything on offense with what he can do as a floor spacer. If done right, the Clippers rotation could be very scary, as they wouldn't have to worry about stacking the minutes of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They could have both Lou Will and Herro coming off the bench, or run a big lineup that has both Herro and Kabengele on the court at the same time. Regardless, he's been very impressive, and I expect him to have a decent role on a team competing right at the top of the NBA. Next, we have Lonnie Walker of the San Antonio Spurs. We didn't get to see much of Walker in his rookie year, only playing in 17 games where he got 7 minutes a game, but this could be a breakout year for Walker. In the Utah Summer League, he averaged 20 points, shooting 50% from the field, and in the 2 games in Las Vegas, he averaged 30 points per game, shooting 58% from the field. Walker has looked solid on defense, which is where he got a lot of value going into the draft, but has also looked like a versatile scorer, with displays of athleticism and surprising consistency so far, shooting off the dribble. Lonnie could be due for a breakout year, and it might be time for the Spurs to look in the rebuild direction. They are nowhere near competing at the top of the league, so trading DeMar and Aldridge and begin to build around their young talents such as Walker, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, and Luka Samanic could be the move for the San Antonio Spurs. Next, we're going to look at some more guys that impressed. You've got Kyle Guy, who was one of the best shooters in college, but ended up being a second-round selection this year. In the Summer League, he's averaging almost 19 points per game, proving himself as a knockdown shooter, which might be enough to secure him a roster spot next year. You've got Taco Fall, who showed us that he's more than just a viral prospect on social media, scoring at a high rate and efficiency in his small sample size of play, averaging almost 20 points per game, shooting 77% from the field per 36 minutes. You've got Matisse Thybulle, who went into this draft as arguably the best defender and continued to show his ability on that end, getting 2 steals and 1.3 blocks a game, but why he's on this list is his performance beyond the arc. For a team that lacks a lot of floor spacing with Ben Simmons at the point and the loss of JJ Redick, Thybulle is going to need to be able to knock down threes if he wants to touch the court for the 76ers. You've got Anthony Simons, who went straight to the league out of high school last year. Now, we didn't get to see much from him in his rookie season, but by the looks of things, this could be a breakout season for Simons and could be the leader of the Blazers' second unit, which was one of the best in the league last season. Against the Utah Jazz, he went out there and scored 35 points, shooting 13 for 18 from the field and 6 for 7 from 3. The last of the surprises would be Daniel Gafford, who going into this season was projected to be a lottery selection, but by the end of the draft process, went in the second round to the Chicago Bulls. Gafford has been extremely impressive on both ends, averaging 14 points, 9 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks. Now, there was a lot more good than bad that came out of the NBA Summer League, but there were still some players that disappointed us, and we'll start with RJ Barrett. Barrett was the 3rd overall pick in the draft out of Duke, where he was one of the best players in the country. I want to make this clear, this is just the NBA Summer League, and it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to have a bad rookie season or even career. Some of the best players in the league didn't have great Summer League outings. The best recent example would be Trae Young. He had a poor Summer League and it didn't get much better to start his rookie season, but by the end turned things around and gave Luka Doncic a run for his money at that Rookie of the Year award. In 4 games, RJ Barrett is averaging 14 points, 9 rebounds, but only shooting 30% from the field. This includes performances of 4 for 18, 3 for 15, and 6 for 17 from the field. One of RJ's biggest concerns going into this draft was his tunnel vision, and that looked very evident in the Summer League. I don't expect RJ to be a great shooter to start his career, but I still expect a pretty solid rookie season as his decision making hopefully improves and he gets used to fighting through this NBA contact. We have also seen some top picks in the 2018 NBA draft that we were hoping for signs of improvement, but have disappointed us so far this summer. The first one being Jerome Robinson. Robinson was a lottery selection out of Boston College last year, and while the Clippers had success with their 2 rookies in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Landry Shamet, Robinson didn't have that same success, appearing in only 33 games where he got less than 10 minutes. In the Summer League this year, he's only gotten 13 points, shooting 37% from the field. With the rumored breakout season of Michael Porter Jr. and him being taken 1 selection before Robinson, this could be a selection that Clippers regret, and as a Thunder fan, I can't help but wish they went Michael Porter Jr. as he would have most likely been included in that recent Paul George trade. We also have Troy Brown Jr. Brown was a 15th pick last year, but didn't have a big role, only getting 14 minutes a game where he averaged less than 5 points. In the Summer League this year, he's only averaging 12 points per game, shooting 41% from the field, which is actually much worse than what we saw out of him in last year's Summer League. Lastly, we're going to look at some disappointments that had nothing to do with their play on the court, and the first one's going to be Zion Williamson. He clearly showed up in worse shape than we saw him in his last game at Duke. Now, this is most likely attributed to him not having to go through that draft process like the other top prospects, but David Griffin made it clear that this knee injury isn't a long-term problem, but he needs to improve his conditioning and will be working with a nutritionist once he returns to New Orleans. We saw Zion get into amazing shape just weeks into being at Duke. Right now, he looks like what he did in high school, but once he's back to high-level workouts and he's working with the Pelicans training staff, I think he'll get back into the shape we saw at Duke, but it's very important for Zion to keep his weight under control if he plans a long NBA career. Lastly, we have the 6th overall pick Jarrett Culver, who sat out the entire NBA Summer League to quote-unquote get integrated with the Timberwolves system. I don't understand that whatsoever. That's literally what the Summer League is for. But that's the end video, guys. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and the shoutouts are gonna be Sean Asher, Simply Elite, Alan Wamba, Raptors for Life, and Ben Norris. If you guys want to shout in the next video, all you gotta do is like the video and comment like the rep notification gang, and I'll shout 5 of you guys out. With all that being said, hope you guys have a great day, and peace.